Welcome back to Market on Close. I am Sam Vardas. We are focusing on crude oil as geopolitics have kept levels of the commodity volatile, to say the least. Let's now welcome in Vikas Dwivedi, who is the global energy strategist at Macquarie Group. Thank you so much for your time, Vikas. How are you reading the oil markets right now?
We are of the view that this pullback was expected. The size of the pullback we've had in the price was unexpected, right? I mean, we thought it would fade down a little bit, not down $10 in basically a day and a half. But from here, our view is that there's still more downside. You will have inevitable rallies, right? You're going to have some short covering and profit taking, et cetera. But in the end, the more the market shifts towards its actual fundamental supply demand balances, it's bearish. And, we're still not that far from where we were before the entire escalation event started. So you could really say, we're back to close to where we started, and now we can look forward. Are there still real risks geopolitically in the Middle East? Absolutely. We don't think they're anywhere near over. But I think the real big event risk is obviously way down. The market is pricing like that. And, so we think we're going to have a few more ups and downs, but generally trending downward.
Okay, so trending downwards, a bit bearish. What levels do you think we could be looking at? I mean, how low could we go?
Yeah, getting Brent into the low 60s, high 50s, we think would start to be at fair value that would reflect the really big surpluses in the supply-demand balance, and also reflect that the Middle East risk, while it's definitely going lower, it's not over. And the unexpected is always out there. So we think there would be a balance in that range, the high 50s, low 60s, the unknown risks, and then the fairly well-known oversupply would be at I think a fair value equilibrium around that range.
Okay, high 50s, low 60s. So it seems like we're back to that prevailing narrative of the supply-demand dynamic that we were faced with just a couple of weeks ago, where there seems to be some worries about the overcapacity and then, of course, the global slowdown as well, and certainly putting a cap on those prices. But while certainly there seems to be encouraging headlines around the ceasefire, and it seems like the worries in particular around the Strait of Hormuz have actually abated for now, they seem to be markets taking comfort in the fact that perhaps they're not in the business of actually shutting this waterway off, because Iran still needs to get its own oil out to the market. China perhaps wouldn't be happy with that. So does that mean that it's completely off the table? I mean, were some of these expectations that this could be shut off overstated?
Yeah, they were overstated. They've always been overstated. We think logistically, militarily, and even strategically, shutting the Strait of Hormuz was not ever a good risk reward or a return on the effort, return on all the potential damage that could happen to Iran from doing so. So yeah, it was overstated. And we were even going back as far as the Iran-Iraq war, where both countries were disrupting shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. It was never shut then, right? And that thing went on for almost 10 years. And, it's just a long history of maybe threatening to do it, but it was never credible in our view.
Okay, and do you think it's safe to say that we could put that risk factor to bed? And I'm wondering, if that is the case, what other risks do you potentially see on the horizon for oil?
We still think the big risks for a big up move again is still twofold. One is any escalation with Russia-Ukraine that could result in Russian supply being put at a higher risk level, which it so far has been very limited to none, but that's still looming as a potential scenario. And the other one is right back to where we started our conversation in the Middle East. Is there a potential that despite the ceasefire, right now that things don't hold, and there are other agendas at work, things that are not apparent right now. That it's kind of the unknown unknowns of that variety. Um, what we think the good thing is that in this case, like President Trump, the way he's handled this has been very positive, and I think the U.S.'s involvement in a very strong way, has made it clear to both sides. Look, to the extent the U.S. has a say, and it has a big say, we think peace is the right answer, meaning get the ceasefire, make it solid, and then let's move forward. Let's not go backwards. So, I think that is a big, big difference. And in our view, once President Trump started getting involved, along with the big U.S. military presence, that was already going to be a big step towards calming everything down.